Hey everyone, I'd like to share something with you today that you might find interesting. It's a simple but meaningful little presentation that has to do with cybersecurity and Python. So the idea to share this came from my recent cybersecurity bootcamp from University of Minnesota that I really enjoyed, and this is my final project. I'd like to show you a couple of items from it. It's nothing huge, it's just a couple of things I wanted to share that you might find interesting. So the idea of the presentation was dedicated to the fact that if you know how to program in Python, and I am personally by no means I'm not a programmer at all. I work in the field of cybersecurity, but this is just my hobby, what I'm doing right now. But if you are a pen tester or ethical hacker and you are penetrating a serious, well-protected network, sometimes you might find that there is literally nothing you can do there with the standard tools that you would normally use. And sometimes you'll find yourself missing the absolute basics, like the ability to copy and paste or connect to the internet. And according to experienced ethical hackers to whom I've spoken recently, you'll be surprised how often under these described circumstances you'll have a Python install. So this presentation was meant to show the power of Python and basically one of the applications that you might find useful. And if you guys want to read the slides which have some information you might find useful, just stop the video and read the stuff. I will also post the link to the actual presentation in the comment section or under the video, and you'll be able to access some links that I've included here, which are also pretty cool. So you probably know what Python is, so I'm not going to read any of this. But the idea is that sometimes during penetration tests, ethical hackers need to simulate a TCP client to test for services and garbage data fuzz and perform other tasks. And in large enterprise environments, you won't have the luxury of using networking tools or compilers. And this is where the ability to quickly build a TCP client comes very handy. Same goes to the TCP server. And in this presentation, I will show you how I built both of them and made them communicate from two different Linux machines. Again, I'm not going to get deeply into the programming at all, but you will get the idea. So let's see some code first. So here's the client. And again, as an ethical hacker, of course, you're not going to be interested in all the formatting. I only used it here so that during the initial presentation, it looks a little bit more readable. But in the end, I will show you the stripped down version of the scripts that you'll probably enjoy because they're really simple. And here I put some really detailed comments. So even a person not familiar with this language would be able to kind of understand the idea. But generally speaking, we import the socket module. We connect to a particular IP address on a particular port. Then we create a socket object, connect to the server, receive input from that, from the user, and then send data to the server and receive a response. Pretty easy. Now here's the actual server. The only difference here is that significant difference here that we are also importing the threading module that allows us to create 7 connections at a time, but it's only because I said it so. But you can obviously do any number of connections that you want. And if you, for whatever reason, are using more than 7 connections, they will start being reused. So you will see it soon. Now I already have the part of the demonstration uploaded. and you can find it on YouTube as well on my channel, but I will also show you this the actual video of this. So as you can see, I built two virtual Linux machines, one Kali and another is Ubuntu, and I used one for the server and the other one for the client. So this is the client, as you can see, conveniently named client Ubuntu. And now this is its IP address. I put both machines on the same network. You will see it soon. And this is the server on the Kali machine. And that's the IP address that we're going to be using in this presentation pretty soon. So let me show you. These are the programs that I showed you without the comments so that they fit the screen. The idea is kind of clear what I'm doing here. And now let's see how we can run this. So first of all, we run in the server. It starts listening on the specified port. And now we run the client the first time. It contacts the server. The server accepts the connection on this particular port, as you can see on the right part of the screen right there. And then whatever I want to send to the server, I'll just type it in. And the other part of the string is actually embedded into the program. So you can see that the server received the string, and the connection is still alive here, and it replies to the client with acknowledgement, which is obviously received by the client on this side. So our TCP system works fine, and we can run the client again. Same idea, it creates a new connection on a different port, you can see on the right. And so here this program is very simple, so I'm simply sending strings to the server, but in real life you can modify it to send files or whatever you want. So the idea is the same. So again, it received the string. Both connections are active right there, and the server replies to the client. The client received the acknowledgement. Pretty cool. All right. So let's see how we can make this simple. So I created a version of the same two programs without any fancy stuff, and they are configured in the way that they can run from the same machine. So you simply need one Linux machine, and you can run the two programs from two different terminal screens, terminal windows. So this is the server, as you can see, very simple. And now let's see how we can make it work on that one machine. So this is an Ubuntu machine. The right side is the server. You can see the stripped down version of the program. Pretty easy to remember if you know what you're doing. So you basically, as an ethical hacker, you can simply type it in when you need it. So again, we run the server first. It starts listening on this port. Then we want to run the simplified version of the client. And here you can see that it received my string that I embedded in the program. It responds, and it keeps happening as long as the server is able to receive connections. And then right after I reach the limit, it starts reusing the strings, as you can see here. Pretty simple. All right, here's one other interesting use of this. Again, very simple. So what I'm doing here, this is the client, the TCP client. Same idea. I'm contacting my old website just for testing purposes on port 80, and the string I'm sending to the web server is imitating well, actually this is an HTTP GET request, it should be formatted in a particular way so that the server can reply properly and recognize it as a proper request. So I will show you this one as well. This is the actual program, again, very simple. And let's try to run it. So we run the client over the internet, and you see it receives the response from the server, even the cookie, all the stuff that we need, including some HTML and JavaScript that I wrote many years ago. So it's working perfectly fine. Now, as you can see, without having any hacking tools handy, compilers to use, compiled languages, or any obvious vulnerabilities in the system, a pen tester can almost always use some simple but powerful Python scripts to establish connection, exchange data between two computers, test for whatever they want, and all the other stuff that you find useful. Now, if you have a link to this presentation, here are some direct links to the scripts. You can always download them and just try them at home. Now the big question for the presentation in the class setting was the mitigation, right? But frankly speaking, it's the good news for the penetration tester or hacker that Python as such is not generally considered a system vulnerability or a threat. And Linux comes with it pre-installed. And the sysadmins out there, they know pretty well that it's not advisable to uninstall Python on Linux or Mac, and it might damage the operating system. So in other words, if you master Python programming in the context of this presentation, you'll have a huge advantage in flexibility in terms of ethical hacking. So if I want to recommend something to the actual sysadmins, it's the standard stuff, all the best practices and such. These are the books, websites, and other materials that I used, all highly recommended, great stuff. And these are some of the guys from the class that were really helpful. I highly recommend the class, by the way. So thanks everyone. Hopefully you'll find this interesting and useful. Take care.